It's another freaking Bomberman. It's Amigos, episode 380. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Amigos. I'm John.
And I'm Aaron.
And today, Aaron, we're going to be talking about Blitz Bombers. Aaron, where were you during the Blitz?
Not born.
Yeah,
not born.
Me neither.
Yeah.
We missed that.
You know,
it's funny how in just the space of a few short years, the UK went from not even being able to allow the word ninja in their game to, not only referencing the Blitz in a somewhat irreverent way, but also bombers.
Is this a reference to the Blitz? Or did they just use the word Blitz?
I've never heard anything that let me know that it wasn't a reference to the Blitz.
I see.
And, of course, the bombers, whenever you think about that, you think about Gunpowder Plot, The Troubles,
Well, you read a lot more into this title than I did.
So this is, it's funny how the worm has turned in terms of UK censorship and just the years between Dynablaster and Hero Turtles and Blitz Bombers.
Yeah, it is strange now that I think about it. Of course, this game came out a few years, in fact, several years after the rest of that stuff did. On the Amiga, so I guess there was enough time in there to get away with it. I never thought about the concept of a game like this. It's funny for something that involves you going around and bombing stuff. I never thought of this game in a bad light until right now. So thanks a lot, Boat.
It's funny when you think about games where you actually are using bombs. Okay, you've got two options. You got the Bomberman games. And you've got sort of your overhead shooter, your Alcon. That one's doesn't that have a second button that throws bombs?
No.
Oh, well, I know Bells and Whistles does, so we'll use that instead. Are there any other games that you can think of where bombs are a weapon?
Tons and tons of games. Super Cobra comes to mind. Xevious.
Well, that Xevious fits that same pattern that I'm talking about. Your vertical shooter, your horizontal shooter. There aren't a lot of games where you're using. You know what? As I'm saying this, I'm thinking about 200 games that use bombs.
Yeah. What about what's the game on the old 2600 where the guy threw the bombs at you?
Kaboom.
Kaboom. There's tons of bombs in that.
Legend of Zelda bombs.
Bar games.
Yeah.
Where the chicks are dropping the bombs and stuff on you. There's tons of those things.
Yeah, I guess Metroid has bombs.
To be
really,
fair,
there's really most games have bombs.
But Bomberman really is the Bomberman type of game is sort of it's in its own world. Like when when we did the Thanks for Giving a couple weeks ago, we played that Bomberman game on the show. Like I played that game, and I'm not a big fan of Bomberman type games, but I thought to myself, well, this is tolerable, but it's not great. But it's the same kind of thing I have played many times. And I have to say, the game that we're playing this time, not to spoil anything, but I think it's a little bit different in a lot of ways. And so I guess they've made so many Bomberman games. I just assumed that there's got to be a ton of different ones that I've never seen before that are totally off the wall. I don't know. You know better than I would.
Well, it's weird because you say if something doesn't do well at the box office, you say it bombed at the box office.
Yeah.
But if something's great, you also say it's the bomb.
That's true.
What's the deal with that?
Listen, man, I don't know what to tell you on that. I don't know who makes up these little sayings and stuff.
I'll tell you what is the bomb, and that's this week's Amiga News.
Amiga News.
All right, Aaron. We start with a new podcast, a brand new podcast that has just premiered for the very first time. This is a show called Future Imagineers. Okay.
All right. Cool name.
And this is hosted by Vicky Lambert, the Pixel Vixen. Pixel Vixen.
Yeah.
She is, of course, a big Amiga user. And but she's also into the whole productivity side. I'm seeing a sea change. I think Doug's having a somewhat unwholesome effect on people. People are starting to put away their games and take out their applications and use them more and more on the Amiga. And who does she interview on the first episode of this show, Future Imagineers? None other than Anthony Jarvis.
Oh,
of the
good
Amiga
choice.
Show.
Yeah,
The best
excellent
Amiga
choice.
programming on YouTube. And of course, what are they talking about? They're talking about the New Tech Video Toaster. I thought that this was funny because, of course, the video toaster was never available outside of the United States. And here are two people that are not. It's sort of like us on our Sinclair. It's two people where they didn't have this thing back in the day, but they are enamored with it. And you know, Anthony talks about how when he was a kid, he wanted to be a cameraman, and talks about always hearing about the video toaster but never actually seeing it, and then using the video toaster to produce all of his episodes of the award-winning Amiga show. This is a great podcast. It's a very in-depth interview. They go over an hour and talking about this thing. And I listened to the first episode, and I'm looking forward to more. You couldn't have picked a better guest to open up this podcast. Have you heard anything about this one, Aaron?
I haven't. I'll be honest, it's the first I've heard of it. And I think that's awesome. It's funny. I'm always on the prowl for something new to listen to, and this sounds like it'd be pretty good. Pretty good. So they've only had the one so far.
Just one episode so far.
Very good. So you give this the thumbs up, then, Boat.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Again, the name of the podcast is Future Imagineers.
Very good.
So,
That looks great, Boat.
Next up, we have a video that is somewhat tangentially related to the Amiga. I just thought it was really cool because it does feature Amiga magazines. Neil is back, Neil from RMC, and he has a new toy in the cave. He has a new magazine scanner. Now, Aaron, I know that you're one to head to the can with a magazine under your arm now and again. What do you think about the idea of scanning these old magazines? Do you think it's worth it, or do you think that most of the magazine's inherent value is the fact that it is this physical artifact from the past?
Well, I will say it's tough to scan those things from the can. That is, so I'm looking for a better tool than what I've been using.
Mm-hmm.
So I watched this episode of RMC here. I never miss Neil's stuff. And I think this scanner looks pretty cool. I have a little bit of experience with doing this sort of thing because I used to scan documents for an insurance company. So I've done some scanning now and again. And this looks a lot more advanced than what I used to use back in the day. That much said, the one thing that I would wonder about when you get something like this, because these things ain't cheap, brother, is do you have stuff to scan that's not already scanned? That's the one thing. Because I mean, if you look around, like most magazines, I mean, you could find a lot of the classic zines. All right, I mean, a lot of them. You can find a lot of the classic documentation for games. All right, so before I would buy something like this, I think to myself, do I have things here at the house in bulk that aren't available to me to just go get somewhere? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think if you take a good hard look at that, and you could say to yourself, "Oh, I got tons that's not scanned." Well, then you go get the scanner. This looks like a pretty decent one. I've seen services that will scan your magazines and books. The problem is that part of the deal is they have to destroy the book.
Right.
And it's not because they have to destroy it to scan it. They have to destroy it because for legal purposes of all things.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So,
okay.
my good buddy Shane R. Monroe did a big thing one time on a search. He used to send all kinds of stuff to get digitized, but that was part of the deal. And I read up on it, and sure enough, that was part of the deal. They'd have to physically destroy the item. So this beats that. That's for sure.
Yeah, it does.
If you've got a lot of old newsletters and stuff, this would be great to scan stuff in that's not available while your user group stuff. So that would be a great use for it. So it just depends if you've got anything worth scanning. But if you did, I mean, I could definitely see picking something like this up.
Did you happen to check the price on this thing, Aaron?
I don't remember off the top of my head. I've checked on these things before, and they're not cheap. I mean, you're
$525.
Yeah, I thought it was somewhere around $500.
Yeah, which I mean is not. I mean, it's definitely not cheap. But it is right up there. Like I have right behind me here, I have what's called the FujiNet Scan Snap. And actually, I think it's Fujitsu.
You ever use that thing, Boat?
I use it constantly.
I know
I use
you
it
do.
constantly. And that costs about the same amount of money, about $500. Again, just like you said, if you've got stuff that needs scanned, you got to weigh how much your time is worth. Because if you're scanning on a flatbed scanner,
Yeah.
I mean, you just might as well sign your life away for the amount of time that
Oh,
it's going to
yeah.
take.
Yeah.
So, and the thing that I love about this thing is it comes with these things called finger cots.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. I
Well,
love the idea of a finger cot.
I do like the fact that when you use the finger cots on it, it actually scans around your fingers.
Right. It knows
know?
somehow where the finger cots are. So,
So that I thought that was kind of cool. I mean, clearly they've put a lot of thought into these things, and they've, like I said, since I did this they've advanced exponentially. So it was an interesting video. Always good to check out RMC stuff.
yeah. Now, Aaron, our next Amiga story, we're venturing into the realm of the games. Oh,
Okay.
yeah. This is a new CD32 game called Wrong Way Back. Now, Aaron, this is one of those room escape games, escape the room games. Have you ever done one of these things before in person?
I have not. I've seen people do it, and I know people have done it, but I've never gotten a chance to do one.
I've done a couple of these things, and I just have to resign myself to the fact that I'm ever in a locked escape room situation for real.
Yeah.
I'm just going to lay down and wait for death because I am not clever enough to make it out of the escape room. However, if you are one of those clever people, you might want to check this out. This is a CD32 game. It was developed using Amos Professional, not just the normal one. And it was made, you can either burn it onto a CDR or you can play it on an emulator. And it's an adventure game where you are trying to get out of this locked room.
I mean, listen. I think this is a neat way to simulate an escape room. It's not the worst idea, and I'm sure this has been done in other places. But I've never seen it. So for someone like myself who's got to do this, believe it or not, I actually sort of find this kind of interesting. Like I may have to give this a shot. It looks pretty good, Boat.
Yeah,
is it just one room?
You can check this out. This is free to I believe free to download. Let me double check that real quick. Yeah, this is a free download. You can head over to lockeddoorpuzzle.itch.io/wrongwayhome and download the crap out of this thing.
Very good, Boat.
All right, Aaron. Next up, we have a game that you might have played. This game has appeared on many different platforms, including our beloved Tandy color computer.
Yeah.
This is Dino Run. Dino Run. This features, I always think about when you get a 404 on Google or you don't have internet, you get that little dinosaur picture, but I don't know if that's where this graphic originated or if it comes from somewhere else. You know anything about the origination of this game, Aaron?
I don't know. I'll respect it. I'm not clear on what it is. I'm gonna have a look at the video right now and see what it is.
So it's an endless runner. And you will play as a dinosaur, and you have to hop over cacti and see how far you can get. Basically, it looks like a great choice for like a high score competition, like we might have at Boat Fest or something like that. I guess the original version of this was an Easter egg in the Chrome browser. It is only accessible when you're disconnected from the internet. So pretty cute. This is I believe that you can get this. This is another this is from Phase 101, which has done tons and tons of Amiga stuff. This is off their itch page. It's amazing, how all of these classic gaming developers are flocking to itch. It's sort of becoming the Steam of independent developers writing for these old platforms. So I love to see that. This is a free download, Dino Run from phase101.itch.io.
This looks like a game you would have gotten on the old LCD.
Yeah,
it's even monochrome like that.
Yeah,
so it's kind of interesting there.
Yeah. So that's Dino Run, and our final bit of news this week, Aaron, is Amiga is finally out. It's here, version 3.0. Tell us about it, Aaron.
Well, in fact, Chris is with us in the chat. This is his, I guess, yearly now release for Amiga. Now, what is Amiga? It's a bootable image for your Raspberry Pi that gives you a double jacked Amiga to play with, and it gives you lots and lots of bells and whistles, additional software and accoutrement that you would not normally get in a real world Amiga. The amount of work that I watched this overview, it's a 45-minute overview, and it's not like he's not like us where we just sit around talking about bombs or like trucker bathrooms. This guy, it's like nonstop action. So it's 45 minutes of like legitimate information, that you are exposed to. I can't even fathom the amount of time it would take to put something like this together, Boat. I mean, and the dedication. And I know Chris has a team that works with him on this, but I mean, this is a quite a feat. I mean, if you looked at this, you think to yourself, this looks like a modern operating system, like on a Mac, like maybe somebody with a Mac or someone that had a particular mood on the Windows. Put it together, it's very attractive. The amount of additional software that's in here is stunning. It's a ludicrous amount. Everything from games to software to get on the internet. This will get you on the internet with your Pi. You can actually watch YouTube in this. You can watch media in this. You can surf the web in this with or without the eyebrows. I mean, you can actually dump out the Linux and do stuff. It's a multifaceted piece of software here that they've put together. We talked about last year's, and there's a whole ton of stuff that he's added since last year. I mean, just so much that I couldn't even begin to sit here and tell you what it was. You just have to basically sit down and read this or watch it. It's funny, Chris laments early on that no one's going to sit through this, and everyone's just going to start up the software without paying any attention to the new stuff, which that probably happens. But if you do that, you really are you're missing out on the ludicrous amount of additional stuff that's been packed in here. So I strongly urge you, first of all, I urge you to go and get yourself a copy of Amiga. And secondly, I urge you to sit down and just flip through this. He's got it split into chapters, and the chapters are labeled so you'll know if you want to skip right to games or right to utilities or whatever, you can just go right to it. That way, so this is almost like having a built-in manual, basically, that he narrates. It's good stuff. I was very pleased. I've used last year's quite a bit, actually, and I'm looking forward to grabbing this one. This will also get you set up to where you need to get this, and you can get set up. And then he actually mentioned it in the chat just now as well. The only thing this doesn't come with are the old ROMs.
That's right.
Now, you have your own path to get those. I'm not going to tell you how to get them, but you can go to Colanto and buy them.
I believe that the cheapest way to legally acquire a boot ROM is to purchase the Android version of Amiga Forever.
Yeah.
Which is just a couple bucks. I mean, it's literally like a couple bucks on the Google Play Store, and then get that file off there. And
he mentions that in the video here. He's even got a little chapter on getting the ROM. So once you dump the ROMs, and that's the way it always is. I was just test driving Mini Amiga, and it was the same thing. They can't include the ROMs. Colanto, you don't want to anger Colanto, so just buy the ROMs. Hey, for a couple bucks, even I can't complain at that. That's a pretty good deal.
Yeah,
and then you're set up. I mean, the fact that and there's stuff in this that you can register. You can register eyebrows, register other stuff if you want to do some stuff above and beyond what this includes. But the fact that that this sort of image is available for free, that someone puts together for you, it's astounding. We live in a glorious age where they give this stuff away, Boat.
We do.
So hats off and thumbs up to Chris and all the people that worked on the Amiga image. I think it's top shelf, Boat.
Yeah. All right, Aaron. Well, that's going to wrap up this week's bit of news, except for one special announcement.
Dun, 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 dun. Bam!
Boatfest 2023. It's going to happen. We put the finishing touches on our planning, and everything sort of came together within the past couple weeks. Boatfest, last year's first vintage computer exhibition right here in Hurricane, went incredibly well, far exceeded our expectations. It went so well that we decided we were going to do it again. And so we are going to oh ooh ooh ee, ah so June 23rd to the 25th in lovely downtown Hurricane, West Virginia, in the Copper Room, which is the banquet room right above O'Connelly's Irish Pub on historic Main Street. We are going to be throwing down the computers literally off the
No,
balcony.
we're not doing
Inception
that. What are
style.
you doing, Boat?
We after a months long search for a location, the mayor of Hurricane came through like a champ and said, why don't you talk to the guys over at Connolly's, at O'Connelly's? And we said, okay. And by we, I mean me. And so I went over there and I said, hey, what do you think? And they were like, yeah, man, bring it on. And so we are going to this year's venue. It's something to behold. I believe, Aaron, you have some video of the event, don't
I do,
you?
Boat.
Run that, please. So this is the Copper Room. As you can see, if you are watching the video version of this, the room is about twice the size of BoatFest's 2022 location. It does include upstairs restrooms. There are bespoke restrooms. There is a bar area. That's right. Above the bar, there is also another bar. There are plenty of tables and chairs. I believe this place can officially accommodate around 80 people. You have these beautiful picture windows that overlook Main Street. There are plenty of power outlets. So this room frequently holds court to live music, wedding receptions, DJs, etc. So electricity is not going to be an issue. They have Wi-Fi at the venue. To me, this just seems like a perfect location to have a vintage computer expo.
It's very exciting, Boat, because it's funny, we didn't know what we were going to draw last year, and I thought we drew pretty good, if I'm honest. But even with the people we drew, we had pretty much, I would say, we put as many people in that hotel area as we could.
Yeah.
And I will say, and I'm going to give Boat all the credit. We were wondering what we were going to do because we have a feeling that we're going to get a better attendance this year. And we knew we couldn't do. This is Hurricane, so it's not like there's not convention centers to beat the band, if you know what I mean. And so I got to give both and the mayor credit that for coming through. Good idea, and it worked out great. And we're super excited. This is going to be a great year. This room is going to be great. The fact that the BoatFest is going to take over top of a tavern, a pub, with a bar and food, the whole 9 yards. They've got it all.
And listen, man, this isn't your typical bar food type bar. This place has awesome food. I frequently go there just to eat the food and drink the beer.
Yeah, so there you go.
So this is, I mean, they've got the literally the best fish and chips I've had outside of the UK, and that's a shoot. They have all kinds of burgers. They've got chicken. They've got great salads. Whatever you want, they've got down there. And like I said, whenever you're done eating, you just come right back up to BoatFest and you're right there. We are working on getting a shuttle from the nearby hotel in Hurricane. There's a Wyndham Hotel that just opened that is very, very nice.
Yeah.
That was the original BoatFest location until I saw their conference room and it held like 10 people.
It was smaller than the other place we were at. It was stunning. And I will say, if you were here last year and you're like, oh God, where have they stuck us now? This location's about a 6-minute drive from the other location. So you're not going to be going out in the sticks. You're about 2 miles from the interstate. It's no problem at all. Easy peasy. And it actually sits directly between my house and Boat's house. So that's convenient for us. Worked out good. Plenty of parking, the whole 9 yards. Plus there'll be an entrance in the back where you don't have to even go through the pub.
So that is BoatFest. I have not set up the website yet, so if you go to boatfest.info, there is nothing there except for information for last year's event. But before the end of the year, I will get some time to do that. But keep an eye on boatfest.info, and of course, when that website goes live, we will make another announcement on the show. You can purchase your tickets then.
Speaking of BoatFest, Boatster, one of the key elements last year that made BoatFest such a great event was a crew of guys that came down from Canada, a boat. And a couple of them represented our sponsor our good friends up in Canada at RetroRewind.ca. They were a huge part of the event last year. I'm hoping we get them to come down again. But all that said, we saw these guys work in person, firsthand, and we're not just saying this stuff because it sounds good. You're not going to find better and more reputable repair folks than the people at RetroRewind.ca. So if you have any of your vintage Commodore computers, maybe a Tandy TRS-80 sitting around that you're thinking about having looked at or cleaned up or recapped, Retro Rewind is the way to go. Also, they provide excellent parts for your various Commodore and Coco machines, including diagnostic materials, boat. They've also got accelerators, Amiga 600 accelerators. They've got the Kung Fu Flash, the C64. They've got all sorts of fun and helpful items to help you enjoy your machines, troubleshoot machines, or get those machines up and running, don't they, Boat?
That's right. So what you're going to do is you're going to head over to RetroRewind.ca, load up your cart with goodies, sign into your account, and use the promo code Amigos10. You'll save 10% off any item, large or small, any amount of items, your entire order. Save 10% right now by using the promo code Amigos10. We appreciate Retro Rewind. We thank them for their service to the community, and we also thank them for being an official sponsor of Amigos.
Right on, brother.
All right, Aaron, let's talk Blitz Bombers.
Yes, sir. Man, what a tune, eh?
Yeah.
makes you feel like you're Jamaica or something. So, this week we are looking at a PD game, sort of, which we'll get into this. This game is Blitz Bombers. This was released late in the game, Boat, 1998. Number of discs or CD 1. And get this, Boat, and the number of maximum players you could have on this. And I'd like to see this done, by the way. But if you cajole your Amiga, you could get 16 people playing this simultaneously.
That is unbelievable. Hey, Boatfest 2023 goal, 16 people playing Blitz Bombers.
This would be, I would say, we're going to get some. Hey, and by the way, Frank sells little serial adapters, so we have to pick up some of those. They're cheap too. This was written and designed by an outfit called Red When Excited. Interesting name. This is all they did on the Amiga. Developers listed as Leading Edge. And the artists that worked on the game were, the coders were Stephen McNamara and Steve Matty. The graphics were done by Michael Richards, and the musicians on this the musician was Steve Enel, and the manager involved was Nigel Hughes. This is an AGA game, and Boat, I think we've solved the puzzle here because this was written in Blitz Basic. So that probably...
Not anything to do with the Blitz after all.
Does that... Listen, I'll let your theory, though, Boat. This requires, if you want to give this a spin, requires 1.5 megabytes of chip RAM.
It's weird to have a 1.5 requirement. Why not just bump it up to 2?
Well, I mean, if you could get away with 1.5. And this requires, it says here, if you want to play with a bunch of people, they would recommend an accelerator, as you can imagine.
Yeah.
This also got released, with demos released on the 1 in July of 95. Amiga format in issue 78 of December of 95. You notice I'm saying 95 here, Boat. And eventually was released on Amiga format in 98. So, this game has a history, Boat. Before we get into the game proper, we might as well talk about it. This was a game that was planned on being an actual released game. You know, like a proper release. And they had this thing up and running, and presumably their goal was to make the definitive Bomberman clone. And I guess they did pretty good because from what I read this pretty much in every source I've got. They caught the eye of a little outfit called Hudson Soft, who came a call, and they're like, "Listen, are you kidding with this? You know, you can't release this." And so development stopped for legal, because of the legal problems that were threatened by Hudson Soft. That, again, I wouldn't be surprised if that's a true story, Bo.
Oh, I guarantee you it's a true story.
And now we've seen plenty of Bomberman clones on plenty of. I mean, me and Brett have ran across several on the ARG. So I mean, they're all over the place.
I think the mistake that Blitz Bombers made was being a major feature on a nationwide magazine.
Yeah, that could have
When
been
you're on
it.
the cover disc, I'm pretty sure that word probably would have gotten out. Also, the fact that this game is so faithful and so sort of great, it being a Bomberman clone probably attracted the ire more than, say, a lesser machine clone.
Yeah, well, that's exactly what I was thinking. I mean, you could sort of release a duddier one, but I mean, this thing, not to mention with 16 players, I believe the TurboGrafx version can hold something like that. That many players, but I mean, it's not like every one of the consoles could do it.
Atari was not going after Gauntlet. Let's just say that.
No, although they did go after Donkey King. Remember that? So that's when they got nailed.
Again, it's the same sort of thing. It's a quality thing.
So anyway, so eventually they just released this for free. I guess because this was on demos for a long time, and I've read a lot of people played the demos.
Because when this game loads up, the first thing you see is the old scrolling dock screen.
Yeah,
that shows up, and it talks about, it sort of points its ire at Hudson Soft, and it says like, this game was supposed to come out, but some company that wasn't even involved on the Amiga had the gall to shut it down.
Oh, I didn't see this.
Oh,
okay.
yeah.
No,
yeah,
I didn't see that.
They go on this big screed against Hudson Soft, and it's like, well, I mean, yeah, you sort of copied their game. I mean, you can't act as if it wasn't in their, in their legal rights to prevent you from releasing a commercial game that's a blatant ripoff of another game.
Yeah,
I don't understand. And of course, you read all kinds of reviews, like on Lemon, they're talking about how, the gap between the quality of games between Japanese studios and European studios was so wide at this time that Hudson should have just let it go because the Europeans just couldn't get it together, which is also crap. Like that's a valid excuse either.
Well, here's a third valid, non-validating excuse for them. Hudson Soft did do games on the Amiga, including Dino Blaster.
Right.
So, to be fair, I mean, they were the publisher of 3 games on the Amiga, and we've played all 3: BC Kid, Dino Blaster, and Yo-Jo. So, I mean, they may not have been doing anything at that time, but they released Yo-Jo in '93, and this game was coming out in '95. So it's not like they hadn't been there for a year. So, yeah, I'm calling crap on that. Listen, I'm all for borrowing and cajoling, but you can't get upset when you get smacked down.
Yeah.
Now with all that said, let's talk about the game, Blitz Bombers. Now, we've done many PD episodes, Bo, as you know, over the years, and it's been a mixed bag. You know what I mean, on a lot of these things. So when I heard we were playing Blitz Bombers, I was like, oh man. Then when you sort of let it slip what this was, I was like, oh boy, here we go. And because I believe we played a Bomberman clone that was a PD already. I think we played 2 before this one.
I think you're right.
And so, you can imagine my surprise. And you also know I don't like Bomberman. You can imagine my surprise when this comes up, catchy tune. I went to the options menu, and right away I was like, holy smokes. This thing has options for days.
It's a Worms-like option screen.
Yeah, because you can turn on and off all the power-ups. I mean, I don't know much about Bomberman in the console world, but does it have that many power-ups in one game? I mean, just like 30 or something. Like, there was at least like 15 or 20 power-ups.
Well, the thing is, by the time 1998 had rolled around, probably so. If you recall the game that you and the Brent played on Thanks for Giving, that game also had tons and tons of wackiness all over the place. However, they totally didn't have to do that with a PD game like this. And of course, obviously this game was gearing up to be a commercial release, but even with a commercial release, they didn't have to do that.
Yeah, and then you've also got, of course, it also talks about the setting up for different players. It's got all sorts of, you can decide bad guys you want and don't want. It's got a ton of options. So, I mean, anytime I see a screen with that many options, I'm like, okay, that ticks a box right there. Because how
Mhm.
many games have we played where it's just like hit button to start, jerk, and
Right.
that's all you get?
Right.
Now here I am. I've got no one to play with now, so I ended up having to play 2-player versions of this with just myself and just running around. That's sad. But I did play a lot of the 1-player. This has a
I did
single
too.
player.
I did too.
Now I've played Bomberman single player games. Now, and again, you'll have to school me here, Bode. I'm going to lean on you heavily here. I've never played a single player Bomberman game that was set up like this was. These were like little bomb quests that you went on. I played through the first scenario, which by the way you could pick your starting scenario too in the options. And I played through it, and it was a fully themed. I think I did the Egyptian one, and it would say like, okay, your goal on this screen is to get out, and then there'd be an exit, and you had to bomb your way out, and then there's a timer. And then there'd be a gimmick where it said, like, you need to go blow up the generators. And you had to go blow these generators up. And you had to bomb your way through a path. And then there'd be one, I recall, you had to find the keys to get out. So you had to go blow up stuff until you found both the keys. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you this was riveting gameplay that I've never seen before. But that's the most fun I've ever had in any Bomberman game, was playing that. Is this something that's common, Boat?
Let me tell you something. You know, the original, you might not be aware of this, but the original NES Bomberman was a 1-player game. Okay, people forget that this game has its roots in being just a regular 1-player game where you do exactly what you do in the 1-player version of this game. The multiplayer aspects of this game, of course, brought the game much more fame. And I've got to admit that when I had, Saturn Bomberman, which is, a lot of people think, along with the TurboGrafx version, are one of the best versions.
That's the one that has all
ever.
The players. Saturn. Yeah, my bad.
That I never ever investigated to see if there was like a 1-player adventure mode. Maybe there was, but when you could play the game with bots, I always just played the multiplayer game with bots. In this game, I didn't have a chance to do that because there is no AI option for your traditional Bomberman multiplayer setting. So I ended up spending a lot of time with the adventure mode, and I'll tell you why. Number one, you have a tremendous amount of variety in the settings. So like you said, there's an Egyptian mode, there's like futuristic stages. There are all these different settings. It's not just like you're in a cave blowing up,
there's deserts and woods and like the future and like a metal, like a circuit board type stuff.
Right.
There's all kinds of stuff.
And two, like you said, the what you have to do, the tasks that you have to perform, it's not just like bomb your way to the exit. There are different things, and I mean, Bomberman at its root is not really a puzzle game. I don't really know how you'd. Maybe it is. I don't know if you'd call Bomberman a puzzle game. I guess it would be an action puzzle game.
In 1-player, I guess it would be, but in
1-player, it definitely is, because you're controlling the release of enemies. Like, there are enemies that are locked behind some of the things that you have to blast through, and you kind of have to be prepared to deal with different types of hazards as you move your way through the level.
Like monsters.
You have to be slow. You have to be methodical as you move through these levels. And methodical is not how you play multiplayer Bomberman. It's crazy time all the time as you just run around blowing stuff up and laughing. So to me, it's almost like a different game, and it's almost like getting 2 games in one. You can have tons of fun with the multiplayer version, especially if you can somehow get 16 or 15 of your closest friends together. That I've just got to see. But when you're hanging out by yourself, it's also cool to be able to play more of, like I said, a slow moving sort of puzzle type game. There is some tension because you do have a time limit, but it wasn't. I didn't find the time limit to be annoying.
I found it. I mean, depending on how I had got to the point where I was up against it more than once on the time limit. But I like it being there. Do the other versions have a timer like this? I
believe that the original NES Bomberman did have a time limit, but you did not get the variety of stages or the variety of tasks to complete in that version.
So the other versions, with that exception, don't really have a 1-player like this, is what you're saying.
If they do, I never, ever played it.
Well, I'll have to say, like I said, I'm not a real huge fan of the Bomberman series, but this was actually like a game, and it was a fun game. It worked well. you had to be careful not to kill yourself, but you were in a hurry. And so, especially when you had multiple bombs, you're trying to work two ends of the screen, and it could get hectic, especially when you release the monsters. The monsters are tough to kill, the way they move, so it's not easy. So I kind of dug that. So I just right out of the gate, I was like, one-player Bomberman, this isn't bad, And I should mention, good music, It looks nice. I mean, it's AGA. Would you know it was AGA if we didn't tell you? Probably not. But I mean, it's colorful. It looks like it looks perfectly fine as a Bomber game. Like, if you told me this is on the, I don't know, Super Nintendo or the Genesis, I'd buy it. It's not like
absolutely.
It wasn't like outside the bounds of something like that.
You know that it's not an official Bomberman game because the guys don't look like the Bomberman guys. Yeah. But if somebody would have said, yeah, these guys, they got some sort of wacky license from Hudson Soft, and they, they're making their own robot blaster game, and it's for the Super Nintendo or the Genesis, this would fit right at home on there.
Yeah.
The music, by the way, outstanding. Like you said, it is a little bit raga, as they say, but it
varies though from different scenarios.
Yeah, and we play so many games without background music, and just being able to have some tunes going in the back while you're playing, it really makes you want to play it more.
Yeah, and amongst the options, when you get into the multiplayer, and again, I'm going to be candid when it comes to multiplayer. I basically just kind of run around, but the good thing is there were a lot of options. You can add CPU players as an option to fill out your ranks. You can also get this boat. You probably saw this, but you can actually decide what you start. You could start with power-ups, and you can decide which ones, how many, all, or you can decide which ones you don't want. You can start with nothing. So you don't have, right out of the gate, you can start with stuff, shields and whatnot, which is cool. And, of course, the multiplayer is just what you would expect. I saw that some of the boards, like, you would have, like, and again, not playing Bomberman like you know it, but there would be areas, instead of going just through, like, plowing, bombing through your way through stuff, there'd be tunnels and stuff. Like, you'd go through, like, a tunnel or a hollow log or something, and you can even see your guy moving through it. And so I thought that added a little bit of variety.
Yeah, and those are definitely things that you see in other Bomberman games. But again, you didn't have to do that with a game like that. In this game, if you're wondering whether you should play this or Dyna Blasters whenever you play whenever you get together with buddies, it's this 100 times out of 100. This is the definitive Bomberman title for the Amiga.
Let's talk about the mini games, Boat, which you could also turn on and off in the options. You've got Pack Attack. The player who picks up the sub game power up is Pac-Man, and the others are the ghosts. So you just have to run around. Bomb Shoot. I don't know if you saw these. We only played one player. I saw one of these. Bomb Shoot. You must shoot all the bombs except your own. Shield Search. A golden shield is hidden on the level. That's the one I found. And then the last one is Tag. And it's just like Tag. You go around trying to tag each other. So there are mini games that are baked into the main game if you pick up the power up for the mini game. Not a bad idea. Mix it up a little bit. Make it a little bit, make it kind of fun. So again, I mentioned that it's got the AI. Something else I should mention is that this game can switch to a high-res mode, so you could have more people on screen. So when you've got those
let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
So you're saying that when you're playing a 2-player game, you can have the players 3 and 4 be controlled by the computer.
I saw the option for it. I never fooled with it, but yes, and also this confirms it. So you could actually add computer players to your multiplayer.
I was not able to add a computer play. Why, if they would add that, why wouldn't they just let you add 3 computer players and let you play the multiplayer by yourself?
Don't know what to tell you on that. Anyway, this can go if you have, think about it, 16 people. All right, that's huge. You could switch to a 640 by 256 high res mode to play this game in high res. You could have more real estate for all those players. So that's a real nice thought right there to come in with. I really like that. Overall, having played this game, and again, not being the biggest fan of games of this type, boy, was I surprised. I actually don't hate this.
Yeah.
In fact, I would endorse it. It's because the funny thing to me is we played 2 of these Bomberman games. One was that Dino Blaster, and then we played another one everyone said was the best. But this crushes that.
This crushes it.
There's nothing in this that's worse. This is better than all the other ones in every way. Yeah.
Yeah.
And by the way, Blitz Basic, they knew what they were doing when they put it together, because this game looks great. You would never know. It just looks like any
No.
good commercial release.
You don't have any of that weirdness like you do with like skid marks, how that menu just looks like something that like was drawn by a kindergartner. Like this really looks great all the way through. You would never know this was a Blitz Basic game.
Yeah. Again, this was from what I've read, this was not. It was 99% completed. I don't know. I assume that they zipped up whatever wasn't done when they released this, because I didn't see anything here that didn't work. And I went through and fooled with the options and messed with the different scenarios and stuff. It all seemed to work okay. So I'm assuming whatever they didn't have left to fix, or whatever they had left to fix, they did it. But who knows? I did have a look at the Lemon score. There were no reviews. I think actually that's not true. I think Obligement had a review on this here. Yeah. Obligement in 98 gave this a 9 out of 10, and Lemon gave this an 8.39. Listen, I hate to say it, but this is eerily, to me, my favorite of the Bombermans I've ever played. This is the best one by a mile, because I can actually play the first player game and enjoy it to a certain degree. And the multiplayer gets you so many options and so many player slots. It's got to be fun to have that many people going at once.
This is one that we're definitely going to have to fire up at Amigathon in February.
I agree. Did you get any Discord action on this boat?
We did. We got one review this week. Again, if you are a Patreon supporter of Amigos, you can get access to our Discord server and leave us a review of this week's game that we will read on the air. Level Lord writes, played Blitz Bombers with buddies to death using parallel port connectors and 4 joysticks at a friend's house. Great memories with this one. We only had the demo version with 5 levels, which did not bother us at all. It was all about good times. Graphics are better than other Bomberman clones on the Amiga, and the tiny voices are super cute. Playing single versus computer was not bad, but where this game really shines is multiplayer and winning the tournament. That was always a great achievement, and losers would carry the title of Golden Lamer. Reference to Golden Flamer just changed a bit in the spirit of Amiga times back in those days. Personally, this is one of the best Amiga multiplayer games, and as such, my score is 9 out of 10.
There you go. I mean, hey, I think you're right, Boat. This could be a big winner. I do look forward to getting a bunch of people together with Amigas and with all the accoutrement to give this a shot. I think this could be a lot of fun. And this is, believe it or not, I played this a lot this week. A lot. which is, I mean, and I played almost exclusively, like I said, the one-player game, and I actually enjoyed it quite a bit. So even if you don't have a buddy to play this with, and you don't like playing against robot, fake AI guys, this is giving you a little bit of bang for your buck just to play on your own.
Yeah, I agree.
And of course, you can't buy this, but it's available on. They released this on AmiNet. You can go get
this
great
is
to
a
download
tricky
it.
This is a tricky one to get going on an emulator. If you are a member of the EAB FTP site, they've actually converted like a hard disk image to a couple floppies. There's a lot of wackiness that went on, but anyway, you can download it off the EAB FTP.
You know where I played this? I actually loaded up Amiga Forever. Our buddies at Cloanto. And this was already baked into my copy. It played great. I think this may come with it. I'm not 100% sure. So, yeah, there you go. It does work perfectly in Amiga Forever.
All right, Aaron, it's time to leave Blitz Bombers and see what's been going on our YouTube channel.
All right, man. Just a couple releases this week, Boat. This is one. We really had a good time with this one, Boat. This is Roller Coaster. This is for the ZX Spectrum. This one just came out a couple of days ago. What do you recall about the old Roller Coaster, Boat?
This is my game of the year on our Sinclair.
Wow.
I love this game. I mean, I had so much fun exploring this wacky amusement park and seeing sort of all of the graphical tricks that were involved with the Spectrum. I love games like this. I love platformers. This is your classic Jumpman style platformer. This just ticked all of my boxes. I wish every ZX Spectrum game was just like this.
I'd say this is more of a Jet Set Willy type of a platformer than a Jumpman, but it's not as ridiculously, ludicrously hard
Right.
as the Manic Miner and Jet Set Willie family of games. But it does get that hard depending on where you're at. But what this is it's a testament to the guy that programmed it. I mean, this is a real tour de force of graphical ability, programming skills, and he didn't shortchange you for your £7. He gave you a full amusement park with zoos and log flumes and lakes. Everything's in here, and you're running through it. I was pretty impressed with this one, Boat. I have to say, I thought this was a lot of fun. So check that out. That is Roller Coaster on this month's R. Sinclair. Every once in a while, I like to get together with Brent, my brother, and play a few games on the show we call ARG Presents. And this time out, we spun the wheel, we made the deal, and this week's show was on the C64 cartridge games, Boat. These are games released exclusively on cartridges. Now, I told Brent, I said, we've covered this once before. He didn't remember it, but we did. So this was 2 more games, and I think we did better this time. I looked at a game called Crisis Mountain, Boat, which I thought was pretty neat.
That's a good name.
It's like a platformer game. It's another game where you run around and deal with bombs. And Brent looked at a game called Diamond Mine. Now listen, Crisis Mountain I think is pretty good. Diamond Mine is double gold money. Multiplayer for days on the ZX. Big time multiplayer. I think you have like 4 people or something like that playing at once. Or 2. I can't remember. But this game is original. It's a super clever game. I got to give the Brent credit on this one. C64. I may have just said this is on the ZX. This is a C64.
I thought you said that. But
Yeah,
I
I lose my mind occasionally. But this, I mean, as a C64 game, it's not what I would call a looker. But man, does it play great. A lot of fun. Super duper original. And I never heard of it.
This looks like a game that I'd love to play.
Oh, dude. It's right up your alley, man. So if you're interested in C64 cartridge games with me and Brent, check it out this week on for Crisis Mountain and Diamond Mine. Also, you can see me scream at Brent if you watch the video version. Over on the Stream Team channel, this is an interesting development, Boat. So, I do a little thing on here called the Friday Night Disaster Stream. And last week, I asked a few people to help me test drive a new ability Twitch has to have guest stars come on the show. And what we ended up doing was we ended up devolving this into a panel discussion show. And it turned out to be a lot of fun. We had Petzel in here, we had Pixels of Dawn, and we had our good buddy, the Flackster, Jack Flack. And we ended up talking about just computing in the 80s. Where did you get your games? How did you bootleg the games? The modem scene in the UK, which I didn't know. He talked about that crazy TV interface that they had over there that would send information to the television. That you
like
could
the
look
teletext.
Up. Yeah, the teletext.
Yeah.
I learned a ton. We had a real good time. We ended up talking for about over an hour. So if you want to hear just some, unscripted, unscheduled chat, then pop on over and check it out. I named the show Paneling, Bud. I thought I'd be clever.
That is clever.
So if you want to just hear some different people from around the world talk, you might get a kick out of this. And I think this week we'll be back to some gaming action. But hey, we may stick one of these panels in occasionally to change things up, Boat.
Awesome.
I think that is all that we've got, Boaster.
All right. Well, Aaron, why don't we see what's coming up on Amigos next week?
Oh, man, there it is. It must be flashback week, Boat.
That's right. So every once in a while, we flash back to a game that we covered on our first 50 episodes. Of course, our first 50 episodes were 7 years ago now. And we are going to be looking at Civilization, the original Civilization on the Amiga. This is not one that I've gone back to. I've got to be honest. So I will have to go back and sort of see if my opinions have changed, or I'm gonna have to go back and watch the original show too and see what I say about it. So it should be good.
I played the crap out of this on my old Tandy back in the day. Just played the crap out of it, and the Amiga version blows away the Tandy version. So I'm looking forward to going back and dipping my toe in the pool again on the old original Civ. Should be fun, Boat.
And of course, we want to thank all of you for watching and listening every week. Our patrons over at patreon.com/Amigos podcast. If you'd like to support the show, or if you want to subscribe to us on Twitch, we broadcast every Friday night, except for when it's Thursday, like tonight. Twitch.tv/Amigos podcast. We leave you with the haunting love theme from Blitz Bombers and say goodbye. Until next time.
Adios.
Adios.